I don't know what I want to say. Damn it, I wish the audio would have worked in the other one. So when Apple comes out with new operating systems, a lot of times you see the big major features in the news and the press and their announcements and all that kind of good stuff. In this particular case, there was those two new apps, Weather and Clock, that were added that you might not know actually exist on your machine. So let's take a look at that right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open my Launchpad, and I am just simply going to type in the word weather, and we are going to open up that weather app. So you can see when you first launch it for the first time, it's going to say, hey, would you like it to use this current location or your current location? If you say don't allow, it's not going to know where the heck you're at and give it to you, the weather to you automatically. You'll have to actually type in an address or a zip code or a city or whatever it may be. So in this particular case, I'm going to go ahead and say okay. And location services should kick in here. And now you can see all of a sudden my location, Reno, Nevada. Snow flurries, and when I look outside, not quite at the moment, maybe over there, but not right in front of me. And I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so we can see a little bit more. And so now you can see more information about your specific location. And so that's the advantage of location services here. Now, granted, you don't have to do this. You know, you could manually put in a location, like here's New York, right? So these are in there by the default. You know, if I swipe to the left, I can get rid of these defaults. I'm just swiping on my trackpad, so I'll just go ahead and delete New York. And let's say I just delete Cupertino too. I don't really care what's happening in California, you know. Oops, I accidentally closed weather. So I'm gonna use Spotlight. If you don't know how to use Spotlight to search for an application, check out our other video on Spotlight. We'll throw the link in the show notes. But here we go. So weather would also like to use your, oh, it quit unexpectedly. I didn't close it. So we're gonna go ahead and just cancel. It would also like to use notifications. I'll go ahead and do notifications because you never know. You can see critical alerts will play a sound and appear on the lock screen even if it's muted or do not disturb. So critical alerts would be like weather service alerts, which sometimes we do get here, you know, just depending on the weather and all that kind of good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and do allow. So depending on the weather that you have, you know, if you live in the Midwest, you get tornadoes, or you live in Florida and you have hurricanes, maybe that's a feature that you want to turn on. So we can see here again, snow stopping briefly. This is my hour by hour forecast, and actually I'm just swiping left. And so you can see as the day progresses, we're going to have snow now at noon, and then it should be partly cloudy, and then to sunny by the mid-afternoon, right? Haha, welcome to your weather if you're in Reno, Nevada. You know, but this will give you an idea of what you have. And then as you scroll down, it's very, very similar if you use the weather app on your iPhone or an iPad. It's the same thing. They've just now made it for Mac. So, you know, you can see today, Saturday, Wednesday, you know, you can plan your 10 days. Gives you air quality, UV index, all that stuff just right in one central location. That makes it really, really easy for you to see. Now, you can also click on the map. And so you can see it's showing me the next forecast, next hour forecast down here in the bottom. I could actually change that to a 12-hour forecast if I wanted to. So it might take a little bit longer to run, but I could see for the next 12 hours what we're gonna get. So it looks like, you know, after this next couple hours or so, we're not gonna get any more snow, and it looks like the mountains still will. You know, but you could expand that map. You could look at it based upon precipitation, you know, you got all these different options here, temperature, air quality, you know, so if you wanted to see what the temperature was, 39 degrees, it's cold. You know, so on and so forth. You want to zoom in, you can zoom in. So it gives you a lot of functionality, but again, it is very, very similar to your iPhone or iPad. So that's really it. There's really not a ton to do on the weather app. It's more informational. You can click around and play with it a little bit. You're not going to break anything, so click and play. The only thing that I could probably say to do is, let's add a location here. Let's see, I travel to South Lake Tahoe quite frequently. So you can see when I do a search up in the top right-hand corner for South Lake Tahoe, I now get this add option, and I could just simply click that. And now I've added South Lake Tahoe into my list. So if you know you travel a lot, or you venture out and about, you know, you go from San Jose to San Francisco, or you come to Lake Tahoe like I do, or anything along those lines, you could see kind of how the weather might impact your travels and see your destination. And, you know, again, there you go. And then you just use this left sidebar to navigate through those. So that's the weather app. Really quick, simple, easy way to add things. You know, like every once in a while I do travel down to Las Vegas for business, so maybe I'll put that in there, and so I'll load that up. Wish I was in Vegas in 60-degree temperature right now instead of 39 and snowing, and then click on add, and there we are. So really easy to do, kind of set up. So take the time to take a look at that, and now let's take a look at the clock. So the clock is another one of those apps that Apple has added. And if you use the clock on your iPhone for alarms, for stopwatches, for whatever it may be, you're going to know how to use this. Really, really simple. So again, by default, you got Cupertino in New York. You know, you can close these. You can get rid of them. You could add your own time zone. Up here in the top right-hand corner, here's the plus. Now, granted, you know, if I type in Reno, I'm not going to get anything right. So I always do everything based upon LA. And there we go. You know, if you want the time in London, you know, so if you do a lot of work, maybe you're a stockbroker, international, you want to know what time it is in New York and you live in LA. I mean, that's pretty easy. Obviously, we all know it's 3 hours, but you know, there might be some other international people that might need to utilize a feature like this. Now, across the top, there are all these other different options. You got world clock, the alarm, stopwatch, and timer. I guess maybe I should take a minute though and address kind of like the map we're looking at. It's just day and night. It's just showing you where the day and night cycles are. So, you know, we're almost at peak day here where we're at in the west coast of the United States, and in London, it's in the early, well, I wouldn't say early evenings, but maybe mid-evening. And then, you know, so down over here is probably going to be, you know, like South Africa. Well, I can kind of see it in there, kind of hiding. You know, so straight down here is like India. So, you know, it's later in the night and we're approaching morning in Australia. You know, certain parts of Australia are in the morning already, but not all of it. You know, so that's what that graph is kind of showing you, is just in case you didn't know. So alarm, again, when you go to the alarms tab, if you want to set an alarm on your machine, you click that plus button. So that plus button on a Mac is universal. It basically means add. You know, so anywhere that you see that, you're adding something, whether it's a playlist in music, whether it is an alarm in the alarm clock, whether it's a location in weather. You saw it, the plus right next to the word add. It's always to add something. It could be a user on the computer. Anyways. So here, alarm clock, you know, like here, I want it to go off at 12 p.m. on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You know, I could choose the sound. I want to use, sorry, I have my computer turned down and quiet. You know, and do you want to allow a snooze? You know, if I was setting this for my morning alarm, definitely would have a snooze on there because I do not like getting out of bed right away. And then here is where you can type in the label that you wanted to, you know, so like check emails. I want to check emails every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon. I don't want to snooze it, and I want that turned on. So then once you hit save, here you go. It repeats every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm going to turn that off because I don't actually want that going on. So this is your toggle on and off switch here. So it's always there if you want to come back to it, or you can just hit the X when you hover over it in the top left-hand corner and remove that alarm. Stopwatch, to be quite honest, can't think of how you would use a stopwatch on a computer. I get it if you're on your phone or an Apple Watch and you're at a swim meet or you're at a track meet or something like that, or you're a coach of some sort. On a computer, to be honest, share. If you can find a reason why you'd use stopwatch on a computer, I would love to know, because one's not coming to my brain. But, you know, very, very similar. Start. So if you've ever used it on your watch, clicking the lap button. So again, if you think about it like from a swimmer's perspective or a runner's perspective, you know, like, oh, just tap the wall. Okay, what's the next lap? Or just cross the line and they're on lap 2, you know, you tap it so you can keep track, you know. So green, obviously what we have here, green was faster than lap 1. Now let's see, I'm struggling a little bit and we go past that 10-second mark and I hit lap. You can see lap 3 was slower than lap 2. You know, so it's kind of breaking it down for you. And then when you're done, just hit stop. So pretty straightforward, easy to use. Again, don't have a use case for it on a Mac that I can think of. So if you have something, please, again, let me know, because I'd love to share it. And then timer. You know, I use Siri all the time to set timers in my house, especially when I'm cooking or doing all that kind of good stuff. But maybe from a work perspective, if you look back at some of our previous videos, we talked about like background music, you know, and sometimes when people are sitting at their machine, they just need to focus. Sometimes that background music that we referred to a few weeks back in our videos, which we'll put that in the show notes, helps you focus. Well, maybe you want to set a time like, hey, I want to focus for 30 minutes and not be distracted. And I'm going to have the alarm goes off when that time is up. You know, I'm somebody that probably should use this because I let squirrels catch my eye and take me in different directions all the time. You know, like a dog, squirrel. But anyways, it's, you know, changes sounds just like the alarm clock. You know, I want a 1 minute one and it counts down. So after 1 minute, that is going to go off and, you know, I can pause it. I can hit done. You know, that's the use case I can think of when you're using it on a computer, is like for focus for business and for work. Again, very similar to the stopwatch. Can't think of any other reasons why you would use your computer for a timer per se. I'm sure there are a lot out there that I'm just not thinking of. You know, a lot of people use their computers for different things. So if you got anything there that you want to share, I would love to hear it. But again, just like the one on your phone or your watch. So what it looks like Apple is doing here with these apps is just bringing that continuity closer and closer and closer between macOS, iOS, and brain fart, iPadOS. And I'm hoping in time what they'll do is they'll start incorporating this kind of stuff also into iCloud. Because what would be nice is that I don't have to go in here per se and set everything up. Which actually, now that I think about it, I don't think I did on my main user. So maybe it is already syncing with iCloud. I'll have to go back and I'll add that into the notes if that's the case. Because I do believe the locations for weather showed up on the weather app on my personal account, but my alarms did not. But it would be nice, you know, you could see, ultimately I digress, but that Apple is bringing things closer and closer together in their ecosystem and providing that continuity between your devices. So that way, no matter what device that you pick up, you have the same features. It feels, looks the same, and it makes it easier for you to learn and to implement. And what's cool is, if you think about an iPhone really is a halo for Apple, right? So people adopt iPhone typically first if they haven't adopted a Mac yet. You know, and then eventually a Mac comes along down the road because of the simplicity of iPhone, and they go, hey, my next computer, I'm gonna look at a Mac. Well, it's very, very smart on Apple's part to make a Mac easy to use, just like how somebody that has the experience of using their iPhone. So I'm sure over time and over the years, in the next few years, they'll get closer and closer and closer to that, and in addition to any new products that they might roll out in the future where their systems are going to be very, very similar. So I hope you liked this week's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks. Have a great week.